What is the heart of source? So we know about this idea of the black hole, right? The void of all that is, almost like a chaos type energy, and how it's very dark. And yet, people who are waking up or who are religious are told to look towards the light. So if you are on a spiritual journey, usually you're looking for the light, you're looking for the brightness. We are told that darkness is the antithesis of source. And yet, we all came from the void. We all came from the womb space, the womb portal, which is dark black hole energy. Wouldn't that be source? And then another thing that I've been really meditating on and processing through is this idea of having a black heart. So we're taught a lot of times that if your heart is black, that means that you have a lot of like hatred in your heart. If you have a black or dark auric field, that means there's a lot of like negativity in your aura, or maybe you have a curse on you, or maybe you've done some dirt, that sort of thing. That's usually what we're taught about when we think of blackness and darkness. But here's the thing. If we come from dark matter, black hole energy, and if the heart of source is a form of a portal, like if the heart can be some kind of an interdimensional portal, that's what a lot of folks are saying in different spiritual communities, how the heart has the opportunity to even be a multidimensional portal. There's a lot of research out there about the heart having more power than our brain, even though we're taught a lot to focus in on our brain. But then there's the heart space, okay? So having a black heart or a dark heart, if you're a dark-hearted person, you're supposed to be evil. And yet, if the heart is a portal, wouldn't that probably most likely mean that it can possess some kind of dark matter, black hole energy? Almost as if your heart, you having a black heart might provide you with opportunities to or upgrade your reality in different ways, but through the heart of source, the heart of darkness, even though the heart of darkness is usually looked at as being negative, really bad stuff. But what if that's inverted? So here's another thing about darkness and your energetic field that needs to be addressed. Your auric field, having a dark or black auric field, that's supposed to mean that you're, a lot of bad stuff's going on in your life. You're getting cursed. You got a lot of trauma. Maybe you've done a lot of dirt and it's showing up in your auric field. That's what we're trained to think. But here's an interesting thing about light as it relates to psychic attacks, energetic vampirism, that kind of stuff. Okay, if you feel like, you're having issues with, quote, being attacked by interdimensionals, that sort of thing, darkness might actually be really protective for you. Okay, and I'm going to explain why. So there are these beings called the archons, and they are the architects of the simulation. Okay, like they're the big dogs, they're the gatekeepers. Okay, and they created this reality hologram to siphon our energy, to siphon our dreams, to siphon our creativity. Okay. And the thing about the archons is they actually feed on light. This gets into the whole concept of the empath narcissist dynamic. Okay. And, the way they tell us to deal with narcissists is don't give them any energy. Okay. Become completely boring. That's one thing. If you're ever dealing with like any narcissist type energies, just become so boring and non-reactive and they'll leave you alone because there's nothing to feed off of. If you get really emotional or you start crying, they love that. Okay. It's the same thing with the archons, because a lot of times the archons are working through different beings in your reality. So the more you're cultivating your light body, the more they can feed. So walk with me for a minute. If we're being taught by religion and New Age spirituality to focus on the light, and the archons are running the simulation, or they think they are anyway, and then they feed off of light, isn't that just a big old booby trap? That whole light being light game, light body sort of thing? Or to only focus on that, because remember, we live in like a weird polarity type consciousness where it's like you're supposed to overemphasize the light and then you're supposed to transmute the dark. Okay, fight the dark. So actually, you cultivating a darker auric field is a form of protection against archonic interference. Okay. And this is something I'll be going in a little bit more depth with folks that I'm working with. I have a group that has recently started called Black Diamond Healing. I'm doing it for Patreon, but I'm also doing it one-on-one coaching. Patreon is more of like a consultation. You get a 1-hour consultation with me a month. It's not coaching. It's just to ask me questions, all right, and a place for you to process, okay? And then, of course, you have access to all the different like subliminals, affirmations, and energy attunements. Because a lot of folks who've been working with me or who have been attracted to my content have come to an understanding that there's a lot of programming that you are dismantling in your reality. And you might be looking for really specific resources on different programs that might be beneficial for you to clear from your reality hologram at this time, because this is a holographic universe. And there's a lot on there about light work and shadow integration, shadow healing, removal of etheric implants. There's a lot of that. And forgiveness and compassion, all of things which are very important. Okay, so I'm not saying, oh, come to the dark side. It's all about the dark side, because, you know, if you have delved into the left-hand path communities, okay, and I like to go around everywhere. I like to watch in all different kinds of spaces, okay, because I learn like that, and I'm here to integrate polarity and align with source and stay in alignment with source in this hologram, okay? And so one thing that I love to do is I don't like to just be pigeonholed to one type of information or one source of information. I like to go to opposing sources, and I like to listen and tap into the frequency of what they're saying beyond the words, more into the symbols, okay? And this is how I find different patterns, which supports me with the content that I create, and then also with the way that I'm able to support people. Okay. All that to say, I've been in the left-hand path. I haven't been in any groups, but I've definitely read a lot of the materials, delved into that. And I always think it's funny because the left-hand path people, they take on the archetype of like, you light workers are so weak, you're so brainwashed, you're so programmed by religion. But then it's like interesting because the left-hand pathers, they also end up getting into their own loop and their own, you know, they get so focused on the dark, right? And then they get so polarized around the light, and that can keep you in the closed loop simulation. So I'm not really here to be left-hand path, but what I will say is because we live in a simulation that has overemphasized the light so much, we might need to take another approach and overemphasize the dark, okay, to balance the polarity. All right, if we're getting all of this programming to focus on the light, you are a light being, the shadow is bad, you know, the devil is a liar, etc., etc. If we're getting all that programming, well, then there might be a time in order for you to balance within yourself that you might need to go to more of a left-hand path or a darker side sort of thing and navigate yourself from that reality, okay, in order to bring balance. Otherwise, it's a lot easier to get caught up in different mind mazes and different traps, or feeling like you're not able to command your reality. And we should all be able to command our reality. And if that means we need to embody the archetype of the architect in order to do that, then so be it. Okay. So that's what my content and what I provide with folks outside of YouTube, outside of social media. If you find me, if you find this message, whenever you find this message on YouTube or social media, this is a getting your toes wet into this content. If you are ready to experience a more expanded view of your reality and unlock a lot of your multidimensional potential, then you might want to consider checking out some of the offerings I provide. And then there's also different like meditations and energy attunements that you can find on my website as well. So that might be something that would be really supportive. Okay. So you can see those links. And yeah, you're going to see me focus a little bit more on the darkness. And I'll be sharing more content about that in order to create more balance in this hologram and to really get outside of that closed loop. Sending y'all lots of love, joy, and peace. Mwah.